Did you know that the distance between two notes can change the entire feel of a song? Music intervals are the secret sauce of making your tunes unforgettable. Whether you be a player, you be a singer, or you be a musician in any way or a composer, it is so much important for you to understand music intervals in even deeper way. We are going to dive into music intervals and we are going to at least learn what we can have as a secret in understanding music intervals. What are music intervals? Music intervals are the distance in pitch between two notes. And this distance in pitch between two notes can either be harmonic or melodic. It will be harmonic when the notes are played together in a simultaneous way. For example, if we have a note here and the other note on top, for example, in this case, we can say that these two notes are played simultaneously. So this one is harmonic interval. And the interval can also be melodic where the notes are played after each other. One note is played after the other note. So we can say, for example, this note here, it gives you a melodic interval. You can describe the interval fully by number and by quality. And describing the interval by number is very simple. You just need to know the letters and you are going to count the distance or the number of letters that are there between each and every note. For example, if we are going to have these our letters in music. We have only 7 letters: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then you go back to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, up to A. So all these letters, we can see that they can represent voices or they can represent tones in music, notes in music. Now, if you have a letter, for example, your note is on A, you are to determine the interval by number of B, from A and B. You are just going to count. We have A. How many letters are there? We have A and we have B. So we are going to say that these one are two letters. So those 2 letters is going to give you an interval of a second. If the interval is from A to C, it is going to be, how many letters do you have from A to C? We have A, B, and C. A, B, and C, which will give you 3 letters. And those 3 letters will make this interval to be a third. So by number, you are just going to count the letters which are there in between those notes. And for example, if we can have other examples, like we have F to B. F to B, we have F, G, A, B. How many letters are there? They are 4. F, G, A, B. 4 letters. So from F to G is going to be a fourth. Is going to be a fourth. So intervals by number is quite simple. You can find, for example, a note written on the staff. Then you have that interval. For example, from here, you're just going to count the number of steps that you have. The first step, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, and it is going to be a fifth. So, or if it has got a clef, for example, here, let's say it is on a G clef. If it is on a G clef, we'll have, this one is from E, then it goes to B. So we have E, F, G, A, B. If you count all of them, you'll find that they are the letters involved are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one becomes a fifth. So that's how you can identify your interval or describe your interval by number. Now, describing interval by quality will make you to involve the terms like whether it is a major, it is a minor, it is a perfect, it is a diminished, or it is an augmented. Now, there are those which are always major, there are those which are minor, and there are those which are perfect, and there are those which are diminished and augmented. Let's start with the intervals which are major. Let's start with the C. Let's write our C scale: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, the intervals which are major intervals are going to be seconds, thirds, sixth, and seventh. Those are, we have only 4 intervals which are going to be major intervals within an octave, and those intervals are just 4: seconds, thirds, sixth, and seventh. And those intervals which are majors, they can also be minors as well. They can either be a major interval, or a minor interval. So we can have major seconds, we can have a major thirds, we can have major sixth, we can have major sevenths. We have perfect intervals. Perfect intervals will only occur in fourths, fifths, and octaves. And we also have an interval which is unison. Now, if the note is not moving, if the letter is not changing, for example, you are moving from C and you are going to C without moving toward the octave, we call that one a unison, because the tone is like the same, or the letter is like the same. So up to that point, at least we have realized that there are major intervals, we have minor intervals, and then we have perfect intervals. These perfect intervals are only unison, fourths, fifths, and octaves. Let's see some examples of these intervals, or we can say that we are going to define the major, we are going to see the major intervals in terms of the steps that you are going to have in tones and in semitones, grouping them in terms of tones and semitones. Let's see, we have here the major interval, and then we have minor intervals. So we say that majors, we have seconds, we have thirds, we have sixths, and we have sevenths, as well as minors. All these can either be major or minor. Now, major second, for example, if we move from C to D, if we move from C to D, the interval there are going to be 2 semitones, or a tone. We can say it is a tone. So the step there is 1 tone. Now, all major seconds are going to have 1 tone. All major thirds are going to have 2 tones. All major sixths are going to have, you can start to count. If you count major sixth, you'll find that it is 4.5 tones. Then all major sevenths are going to have 5.5 tones. How do we find 5.5 tones? Let's see. An example of a major seventh is from C to B. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Let's see the interval. Now from C to D is 1, 1, a half, 1, 1, 1. So if you count all these tones, you will find that they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. You'll have from C to D, we have C is 1, C to D is 1, D to E is 1, E to F is a half, F to G is 1, G to A is 1, and A to B is 1. Now, then we always know that B to C is a half. So if you are moving, an example of a major seventh is when you are moving from C to B, you'll find that it is 7 steps, and those steps, the interval between them are 5.5 tones. Let's count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we have this a half here. So the total of major sevenths will be 5.5 tones. For major six, let me repeat. We'll have from for you to have a distance from major 6 is C to A, you are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Then we have E to F, which is a half, which is 4.5. So that one will give you for the majors, the tones for the majors, which are seconds, thirds, sixth, and seventh. Then you also have those for the minors. For the minors, you are going to have a half, 1.5. We have 4, then we have 5 on this end. Now for the minor, you are going just to reduce, or we can say that, yeah, we are going to reduce the interval by a half a step. Reducing an interval of 1 by half is a half, 2 by half is 1.5, 4.5 by half is 4, 5.5 by half is 5. So those are what entails minor intervals and major intervals. Let's see the ones which are having perfect intervals. We have unison, we have fourths, we have fifths, and then we have octaves. All these, the 4 of them are going to give you perfect intervals. So we are going to have perfect 1. Now, perfect unison is going to have an interval of 0. For example, you're moving from C to C, the interval is going to be 0. Perfect fourth are going to have an interval of 2.5. You are going to move from C to F. Example is moving from C to F, which is going to give you C to D is 1, D to E is 1, and E to F is a half, which is 2.5. Then perfect fifth is going to be 3.5 tones. And then perfect octaves is going to be 6 tones. Now, for diminished and augmented, when you are in a major, or for example, if you have a major from a major, then if you increase that interval by a half, it is going to give you an augmented interval. Any major, if you increase that interval by a half, it's going to give you an augmented interval. For example, if you have a sixth, C, example is C to A is a sixth. This one is a C to A is a major sixth. And then C to A sharp is going to give you an augmented sixth. So if you increase, or if you increase any major interval by a half, it is going to give you an augmented interval. What if you decrease by a half? If you decrease it by a half, it is going to give you a minor interval. And then if you decrease a minor by a half, it's going to give you a diminished interval. It is going to give you a diminished interval. This is a secret which is so much important for you to learn and for you to have. Anytime you have a major interval, increasing it by a half a step is going to give you an augmented. Decreasing it by a half a step is going to give you a minor interval. Decreasing the minor by a half a step is going to give you a diminished interval. Increasing a minor by a half a step will give you a major interval. What about the perfect? Perfect can also be increased or decreased. Now, perfect intervals, when you increase a perfect interval by a half a step, is going to give you an augmented interval. Now, if you decrease a perfect interval by a half a step, is going to give you a diminished. It's going to give you a diminished interval. That's a secret that you need to have in mind, and it is one of the top secrets for musicians to have. Anytime you have a perfect interval, when you increase it, it becomes an augmented interval. When you decrease it, it becomes a diminished interval.